Well, good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us as we celebrate the FTC's National Consumer Protection Week. And I want to thank the other organizations for joining us today and participating, and you'll be hearing from all of them. I'm Claire Rosenzweig, President and CEO of the BBB serving Metro New York, and I'll be announcing BBB's top consumer complaint and scam categories from 2022 in just a minute. But first, if you wish to submit a question during this presentation, please take a look at the chat box and you can drop your question in there and address it to BBB Metro New York. We also have a web page dedicated to this event. It's full of information and resources related to today's topic. And you'll just need to click on the URL, which we will be dropping into the chat box momentarily. Metro New York BBB is one of 97 independent BBBs all across North America, and we help people find businesses and charities that they can trust. In 2022, when we kicked off our centennial year, we received 6.65 million inquiries for information about businesses and charities, handled over 77,000 complaints filed by consumers, managed over 67,000 consumer reviews, and you can go to bbb.org to see all we have to say about businesses on our business profiles and our charity reports. You'll also find our scam tracker at bbb.org. This is where consumers submit fraud reports and view what others have reported all across North America. Last year, we processed scam reports tied to our area, alleging a collective $2.25 million in losses because of the scams. Yesterday, the BBB Institute for Marketplace Trust issued its annual risk report based on all scam tracker data collected in 2022. Besides ranking the scam categories by relative risk, it gives us insight into new scam trends. For instance, for the first time since BBB started publishing these reports, 18 to 25-year-olds reported the highest median dollar loss of any age group. This is new. Also, reports about scams via text were up about 40% compared to the previous year. So now, our top 10 complaint categories for 2022 in the Metro New York area. They include financial services. This one topped our most complained about business category list for the second consecutive year. In addition to insurance providers, this group includes a range of financial institution types like banks, investment brokers, and tax preparers. Our second category, telecommunications, internet, telephone, and cable TV providers experienced a significant 27% reduction in 2022 complaints compared to 2021. And I would ask, if you're not speaking, to please be sure you mute yourself. Even though this change did not affect its standing as the second most complained about category by volume. Online retailer and internet sales and services, late or non-delivery of ordered merchandise, dissatisfaction with what you received, advertising concerns, and problems with billing and refunds all fall into this group. And you can see the rest of the top 10 on the webpage I mentioned. Now on to scams. You know, scammers are always adapting to new technologies, and you can see this in this list of scams that I'll be talking about, and that which will be on the webpage. The most reported scams. Number one, online purchases. These accounted for more than a third of all scam tracker reports to our BBB in 2022, and were responsible for more total consumer dollars lost than any other category in the top 10. Unlike the complaint category, the scams report specifically allege fraudulent practices and often refer to the fly-by-night sellers. The number two scam category, employment scams. These increased in volume by about 15% between 2021 and 2022, but still held on to the number two spot. This category involves fake job opportunities. Think of consumers who cash fake checks on behalf of their supposed employers. The median dollar loss here rose from about $900 to $1,500. Number three, phishing. Look, by now we all know not to click on unsolicited or strange-looking texts or email links, but consumers may be a little less discerning when prompted to pay For instance, for parking, if a QR code is stuck to that parking meter, or approving a package delivery by text. But we all know that QR code can be fake, text message could be fake, and when BBB sends out tips to consumers, these are the types of things we advise them to watch out for. Visit our BBB's National Consumer Protection Week webpage. Again, we're dropping that URL into the chat box to see the complete top 10 lists, as well as the BBB Institute Scam Tracker Risk Report. Plus, we're going to put the resources shared by today's speakers on that page as well. So as a reminder, go to the chat box to see that URL. So on behalf of BBB, of Metro New York, thank you very much for being part of today's celebration of National Consumer Protection Week. And now it's my pleasure to introduce Karen Dahlberg O'Connell of the FTC. Karen, over to you.
Thank you so much, Claire. Good morning. Last year, more than 5 million consumers reported identity theft or fraud. More than 725,000 of those reports were about imposter scams. These scams involve someone trying to extract money by pretending to be someone else, whether it's a particular person, business, or government entity. Consumers lost almost $2.7 billion to imposters last year. How do imposters contact people? They do it by email, phone calls, text, pop-up messages on a computer, or through social media. Sometimes the imposter pretends to be a family member or the friend of a family member, claiming that a grandson has been arrested, hurt, or is stranded in a foreign country and needs money immediately to make bail, pay a lawyer, or pay medical expenses. Sometimes the imposter pretends to be raising money for a particular charity or for refugees. Sometimes the imposter pretends to be from the government and tries to convince people that they owe taxes or fees, and if they do not pay, they will suffer serious consequences, such as criminal liability or even deportation. Sometimes the imposter tries to convince people that they can claim a prize if they pay some taxes or processing fees. And sometimes the imposter calls and says they're a computer technician. They might even say they're from a well-known company like Microsoft or Apple. The call might even have the right caller ID because technology makes phone numbers easy to fake these days. They tell you there's a virus or malware on your computer, and you'll have to give them remote access to your computer or buy software to fix it. Or you might get a pop-up message on your computer saying that there's a problem and you'll lose all of your data if you don't call a toll-free number right away. Sometimes the imposter pretends to be from your bank or a credit card company and is trying to trick you into sharing your financial information. These scams are designed to be hard to spot. It looks like an email from your bank, logo and all, but logos are easily faked, so you should contact the bank yourself. Scammers want your information because they can use it to commit identity theft or to drain your account. If they ask for money, the scammer usually wants payment by wire transfer, gift card, Zelle, Venmo, or cryptocurrency. They often rely on an emotional response by the consumer to help a loved one or to avoid some financial or criminal penalties. Certain imposter scams are known by specific names, such as grandparent scams, catfishing, or romance scams. For these scams, the fraudsters usually collect their information from social media or other sources so that they can appear convincing. Last year, more than 14% of consumer complaints nationwide were about imposter scams. Imposter scams was the #1 category of fraud complaints. This is a problem locally as well. 12% of all reports filed by New Yorkers last year were about an imposter scam. Here are some tips to avoid falling prey to an imposter scam. First, never send money without verifying the recipient of the funds. Wiring funds, providing gift card information, or otherwise electronically transferring money is just like sending cash. Once it's gone for good. Don't pay anyone to collect lottery or prize winning. Don't cash a check if you've been asked to send any part of it back. That check is probably fake. Never give out your personal information to someone making an unsolicited call, text, or email claiming to be your bank, a government agency, or other trusted source. If you receive such a call, text, or email, hang up or delete it and report it to your bank and to law enforcement. Never act fast without checking out the story first. Scammers want you to act quickly before you've had a chance to think. If you are concerned that a loved one may be in trouble, try calling them or another family member who may know their whereabouts. Call the hospital or the jail where your loved one supposedly is. Remember, deepfake technology enables scammers to replicate people's voices to make these phony distress calls extremely hard to spot. To find out more about imposter scams, visit consumer.gov and search for imposter scams and share these resources with family and friends. If consumers discover that they have been targeted by an imposter scam, they should file a complaint with a consumer protection agency or advocacy organization like the FTC, the BBB, or any of the agencies represented here today. These complaints help us understand the latest trends and bring law enforcement actions, and if possible, stop the scam. Report fraud to the FTC by going to reportfraud.ftc.gov. Thank you for joining us today and for helping us bring this important information to New York area consumers. And now I'd like to introduce my colleague and friend, Vilda Mayuga, who is Commissioner of the New York City Department of Consumer and Worker Protection. It's all yours, Vilda.
Thank you so much, Karen. You're right. We're friends. There's a lot that goes on, I think, in our roles. And thank you so much to our colleagues at the Better Business Bureau of Metropolitan New York for hosting us today for National Consumer Protection Week. It's wonderful to be among so many friends and colleagues who are all trying to help consumers across New York. I am Vilda Vera Mayuga, Commissioner of the New York City Department of Consumer and Worker Protection. At DCWP, we believe that consumer protection and financial empowerment go hand in hand, and we strive to empower New Yorkers to make well-informed financial decisions. And now in recent years, DCWP has become concerned about the growing use of buy now, pay later loans. These are short-term loans that allow consumers to pay for something in small installments and avoid fees or interest, but only if consumers pay in full and on time. A report released just last week by the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau shows that about 17% of consumers have entered into a buy now, pay later loan agreement in the past year. And now these consumers are more likely to use credit generally and are also more likely to experience financial distress. The thing is that these loans might seem appealing at first glance, and you can pay a fraction of the price and walk home with the product today, but you'll have to continue to pay for it over time. And it is this false sense of freedom that makes it easy to end up spending more than you budgeted for. So we want all New Yorkers to understand the financial risks associated with these short-term loans, which is why today DCWP is releasing what you need to know about buy now, pay later loans. Is a tip sheet that we hope will help New Yorkers make the best financial decision possible for themselves. Now, here are the tips. One is like consumers should think before they sign into an agreement. Buy now, pay later loans tempt consumers to make quick decisions, but consumers should consider if it would be best to just delay buying that item until they can save up to purchase at its full price. Number two, read the fine print. Each company's loans vary and they have very different fees and interest rates associated with them. And there are also different payment schedules. Number three, check the return policy. Consumers have reported difficulty trying to return items they bought using a buy now, pay later loan. Budget before buying. Consumers should make sure they'll be able to pay off the loan on time. Next, understand how these loans may impact your credit score. Buy now, pay later companies do not report payments to the major credit bureaus consistently. Late payments often reduce the credit score, and on-time payments may not improve a credit score. So consumers should really consider another credit product if they want to improve their credit score. Limit the number of buy now, pay later loans you have. Because the payment schedules and fee amounts can vary, it can be difficult to manage several loans at once. If consumers need to have multiple loans, they should use the same company to align payments, payment dates, and terms. Make sure to set text and email reminders to keep on top of payments. Turn off autopay if you don't want to be charged automatically, okay? Buy now, pay later companies default to automatic payments, many of them. If a bank account allows overdrafts, automatic payments may not be the best choice, and consumers have a legal right to stop automatic payments. And finally, really, most importantly, we encourage all consumers to make a free one-on-one professional financial counselor appointment at a New York City Financial Empowerment Center at nyc.gov/talkmoney. Our counselors create budgets, establish or improve their credit, set up a spending plan, open a safe and affordable bank account, contact their lenders about their debt, including student loans, develop a strategy to reduce debt or lower payments, access emergency government resources, and so much more. Here at DCWP, we really work to protect and enhance the daily economic lives of New Yorkers to create thriving communities. And an important piece of that is making sure we have the resources available to help New Yorkers understand financial risks so they can make well-informed decisions as consumers. So thank you so much. I'm going to turn it over now to Max Dubin, Special Counsel to the Superintendent at the New York State Department of Financial Services.
Hi, and thank you, Vilda. Good morning, everyone. Always appreciate working with Vilda's agency on protecting consumers, and we just spoke yesterday, actually. I'm Max Dubin, Special Counsel at the New York Department of Financial Services, known as DFS, and I'm proud to represent the department and Superintendent Adrian Harris at this event. As we recognize National Consumer Protection Week, I'd like to talk today about how DFS is advancing our mission to protect consumers from financial harm and support opportunity and access to quality financial services for all New Yorkers. The department regulates the financial activities of approximately 3,000 banking, insurance, virtual currency, and other financial institutions with assets totaling $9 trillion. Serving and protecting consumers drives the work of everyone at DFS. Our examiners review our licensees' practices to ensure they're complying with state and federal consumer protection laws. Our enforcement teams investigate and bring actions against bad actors who defraud New Yorkers. But most critically today, our consumer assistance unit mediates consumer complaints against insurance companies, banks, and other financial institutions, including providers of financial products and services like debt collection, mortgages, prepaid debit cards, student loans, and debt settlement services. They also manage our appeals program to handle disputes that consumers have over surprise medical bills. Our team works very hard to protect all New Yorkers, and I'm proud to share today that last year, our team put over $157 million back in New Yorkers' pockets last year, just through our recoveries and enforcement restitution. We remain committed to aggressively fighting for all consumers, and I encourage New Yorkers who need assistance with any of financial services to reach out anytime and file a complaint with us at dfs.ny.gov. I also want to take a moment today just to talk specifically about some of the work that we're doing on banking fees. Under Superintendent Harris, DFS has expanded its focus to kitchen table issues, taking a more proactive approach to ensure that our financial system serves everyone and that all New Yorkers have access to affordable banking services. Last year at DFS, we issued nation-leading guidance prohibiting unfair and deceptive overdraft and non-sufficient funds, or NSF fees. Through our examination of our licensed institutions, we uncovered internal bank practices that we believe were designed to maximize the amount of overdraft and NSF fees that were charged to consumers. These practices were particularly egregious because these fees hit consumers who can least afford them. This year, we're continuing that work to address additional overdraft and NSF fees that disproportionately harm low and moderate income New Yorkers. Governor Hochul has recently proposed legislation that will empower the department to address bad practices like when banks arrange the order of how they process your transactions to maximize the fees that consumers pay. The legislation will also allow DFS to limit the number of and amount of overdraft fees that an institution may charge a single consumer in a given period of time. If you feel you've been hit with abusive or unfair overdraft or non-sufficient fund fees, or any other issue that you may have with a financial product or service, you can reach out to the New York State Department of Financial Services anytime, and our Consumer Assistance Unit is prepared to help you. Just visit our website at dfs.ny.gov, and we will open a complaint and begin processing that. Our team stands ready at all times to assist you with your financial issues. Thank you, and I really appreciate this time. Now I'd like to introduce Paula O'Brien, Director of the New York Department of State's Division of Consumer Protection.
Good morning. Thank you, Max. Hello. So I am Paula O'Brien, the Director of the New York State Department of State Division of Consumer Protection. In recognition of National Consumer Protection Week, the Division of Consumer Protection is highlighting rental scams, an area that continues to rise as the cost of living continues to grow. Rental scams happen when a scammer misrepresents themselves as a property owner or real estate agent. Rental scams also misrepresent the term business or agent. Many scammers will request personal information and money for background checks and then disappear. Personal information is a gateway to many things, so you want to protect it like you do your money. Using your personal information, scammers can commit fraud and identity theft. Identity theft can damage your credit and inflict harm that takes years to undo. Thus, it's very important to guard your personal information. I hope you found these 5 tips helpful and that they serve to empower all consumers in avoiding rental scams. For more information, please visit the New York Division of Consumer Protection website at www.dos.ny/consumer protection. To receive updates, we encourage New Yorkers to follow us on Twitter at NYS Consumer and Facebook. Thank you again for your time today. And now we welcome Daniel B. Brubaker, Inspector in charge of the U.S. Postal Inspection Services.
Thanks, Paula. As one of the oldest federal law enforcement agencies in the United States, the Postal Inspection Service has, over the years, witnessed the financial and emotional toll that fraud has on scam victims. Young or old, a scammer sees only one thing, and that's money. Consumers should know scammers make it their profession to tell one lie after another. They're professional liars, and they're good at their trade. I'm sure you're all familiar with the phrase, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. Everybody's heard that. But people are still enticed by the pitch of hitting a lottery or winning a sweepstakes or being the beneficiary of some kind of other risky scam. Whatever the case or offer, it always ends the same, a separation of the victim from their hard-earned money. And that's why we continue to focus our efforts on prevention. When we talk to people about fraud, we usually hear, oh, that would never happen to me, or I'm too smart for that. But it can happen to anyone. And that's why this year for National Consumer Protection Week, the Postal Inspection Service is focusing their fraud prevention efforts on romance scams. Statistics say that over $1.3 billion was lost in 2022 to romance scams. And think about that for a second, because we always throw around these big numbers, all the time. $1.3 billion, that's 15 stacks of $100 bills, each as tall as the Statue of Liberty. And the bad news is the numbers are growing. During the pandemic, scammers found a new gold mine, people who were socially isolated, working from home, and looking for love. These individuals were susceptible to online scammers from some other corner of the world who were just looking for their next victim. It goes like this. You're browsing on a dating site and you connect with someone. You're excited, and before too long, you're asked to move the conversation to someplace private. And then it begins. Things are moving fast and going well. He or she begins to profess their love for you and can't wait to meet you in person. On the day of your planned meet, though, you get an email, a call, or a text that your new love interest has been in an accident. And your mindset is, you think, how can I help? You might be hesitant at first, but then you let your guard down thinking they're only asking for the money for a plane ticket. And it's not really a lot when you consider you're meeting your forever love. So you go ahead and hit send and you send that money, boom, you become a victim of a romance scam. Trust me, we arrest as many of these fraudsters as we can, but unfortunately your money is usually never recovered. In short, your money is gone and so is your new love. We want consumers to know there are things that you can do to keep yourself and your loved ones safe from these fake Casanovas. Here are our top tips to help you recognize a romance scam. There are obvious spelling and grammar errors that seem suspicious based on their conversations. Their online profile suddenly disappears from a dating site, or they pledge their love way too quickly. They ask you to send or receive money or packages. They need money right away due to a medical or family emergency. They need a visa or plane tickets. Or they claim a business opportunity arose that was too good to turn down, and they ask you to wire a loan. If you experience these things, run as quickly as you can. It's probably a scam. And if you believe that you've already been a victim of a romance scam, here's some things you should do to protect yourself and your finances. As difficult as it may be, cease all communication with this person. Block attempts to resume contact via email, text, or phone. Above all, resist the temptation to physically locate and confront the person you've been corresponding with. Turn over everything, including copies of correspondence, to law enforcement and let them investigate. If you met on a dating site, contact the site administrator and let them know. If you met on social media, lock down your account. Beware of new friend requests. Scammers like to pass their victims around. Screen all your incoming calls and don't answer any callers that you don't immediately recognize. Let it go to voicemail. And if possible, change your phone number and make it non-public. Most importantly, remember to get help immediately by contacting your local police department. And if the crime has a connection to the U.S. mail, contact postal inspectors at 877-876-2455. For more information on this very important topic, go to www.uspis.com. Thank you for your time, and I'd now like to introduce Scott D'Alessandro. Scott is the Assistant Special Agent in charge for the Internal Revenue Service Criminal Investigations.
Thank you, Daniel. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for including IRS on this important topic. Again, my name is Scott D'Alessandro. I'm the Assistant Special Agent in charge for IRS's Criminal Investigation Division here in the New York field office. A little bit about my agency, because we're not well known. We consider ourselves financial investigators. We're a federal law enforcement agency with conduct all types of financial investigations, but we specialize and have sole jurisdiction over investigating crimes that involve tax fraud. We are the experts in following the money. Last year alone, we identified $5.7 billion in tax fraud and had nearly 700 people sentenced for financial frauds. So this time of year, it's especially important that all taxpayers have confidence in the tax system and protect their personal and financial information. We do see an uptick in reported frauds and schemes this time of year. And so we want taxpayers to take every step they can to protect their information and to ensure that they pick the right person to assist them in preparing their tax return. I want to briefly discuss 2 points today. The first is tips that you should use when selecting a tax preparer, or things that you should look out for when you're hiring a tax preparer. The other thing is tips to keep yourself safe, dealing in the world, to keep your information safe so that it's not misused by identity thieves. So the first thing, when selecting a tax preparer, it does come down to the very basic idea of do your due diligence, do your research, pick the right person. At the end of the day, you are responsible for what ends up on your tax return. And if that information is inaccurate, it could result in an audit and you owing penalties, interest, and even worst case scenario, criminal prosecution. So with that, a couple of things to be very mindful of. One, don't use what we call a ghost preparer. A ghost preparer is somebody who will not identify themselves as the preparer of that return. If you look at a tax return, there's 2 lines for signatures, one for the taxpayer themselves, and the second one is for the paid preparer. If you use somebody who refuses to sign that and identify themselves as the preparer, then don't use them. The second thing is do not sign a blank tax return. Sometimes we see this time of year. The return preparer's office may be busy. You may have to wait in line, or you may be unable to get an appointment. If they tell you that you can just sign where your signature block and that the return preparer will fill in that tax return for you, don't do that. It's your responsibility to sit down with the return preparer and make sure that you go line by line and understand what's on that return. You are responsible. The third thing is don't fall victim for these extra large refund promises. If it sounds too good to be true, it most likely is. And lastly, make sure that you are the one receiving your refund. Your refund, first of all, you should sit with the preparer, go line by line, make sure that you know how much you are getting back or how much you owe. And you should see that it's going to your bank account or being mailed to your address. It should not go to your preparer. I hope those tips help people select a good, competent tax preparer that will assist them in filing an accurate tax return. The other thing is some tips to keep your information safe during the filing season. First of all, the IRS will not call you and threaten legal action if you do not give personal information. We don't collect taxes on prepaid debit cards or iTunes cards, and that is not the way it works. If you receive one of these calls, hang up immediately. It's a scam. The other thing is phishing and other types of scams continue to be a problem. If you receive a text message purporting to be from the IRS and it wants you to click on a link, don't click it. Go directly to the IRS website. And if you do click on one of these links, do not put in personal information. Fraudsters continue to prey on those who have a debt with the IRS. Be wary of any promises to settle tax debts for pennies on the dollar. If you do owe money to the IRS, reach out directly to them to discuss potential solutions. And lastly, if you or somebody you know is a senior citizen, they tend to be somewhat vulnerable to these scams. So please talk to them and make sure they have a point of contact who can assist them if they do get a suspicious call. I hope this is helpful. And if you do have information on any financial crime or you believe that there's tax fraud, please reach out to us at New York Field Office at ci.irs.gov. Thank you for your time today. And I'm going to hand it off to Kathleen Fisher, who is the Associate State Director of Community Engagement at the AARP. Thanks.
Thank you, Scott. And I am Kat Fisher, Associate State Director of Community Engagement at AARP New York. I want to take this opportunity to give a special thank you to our friends at the Better Business Bureau for organizing today's event and to the partners here for their efforts to protect New York consumers from fraud. Identity theft is so common that every 2 seconds, someone's identity is stolen. Staying on top of the latest scams and informing the public about them is a major priority for AARP. That's why AARP launched the Fraud Watch Network to arm Americans with proven tools and resources they need to fight back against identity theft and scams. Scammers are getting more sophisticated when they try to steal identities. People might think about the internet, social media, or dark web when they talk about identity theft, but you'd be surprised to learn about the number of people actively digging through your mail or trash to find information on your identity. For example, they look for credit card offers, credit card bills, credit card statements, bank statements with account numbers that include personal information. This National Consumer Protection Week falls at the perfect time. If they haven't already, people are starting to think about their taxes and gathering documents, whether online or in paper files. It's a time when many do spring cleaning, and when it comes to documents containing sensitive information, AARP recommends shredding. Following tax season, AARP New York is launching a series of free paper shredding events around the state, so anyone can come by and have sensitive documents shredded at no cost. Our Shred Festival, entitled Fight Back Against Fraud, Shred Instead, is a series of paper shredding events beginning April 19th in New York and occurs all around the state. These events are held outdoors, some walk up and some drive through. Shredding sensitive documents combined with other good information people are learning this week will help consumers live their best lives. These secure community shredding events are very popular, among the most popular AARP event offered each year, and it often draws large crowds. To have your documents shredded, go to aarp.org/NYStopScams to find and register for a free AARP shredding event in your area. Again, that's aarp.org/NYStopScams. If you have questions or think you've been the target of a scam, contact the AARP's Fraud Watch helpline toll-free number at 877-908-3360. AARP offers this toll-free number Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern Time. In 2022, the top 5 scams reported to AARP's Fraud Watch Network helpline by victims were imposter or business scams, ID theft, computer virus or tech support scams, fraudulent sales, online dating romance. We also have many resources available online at aarp.org Fraud Watch Network. Again, that's aarp.org/Fraud Watch Network. There you can sign up for bi-weekly Watchdog Alert emails or use the scam tracking map to stay updated on the latest scams in your area. Or you can text FWN to 50757 right now from your cell phone to receive bi-weekly text alerts about the latest scams. Again, for text alerts, text FWN to 50757 right now from your cell phone. Also, the AARP Fraud Watch Network and Volunteers of America created a new free program to provide emotional support for people impacted by a scam or fraud. The program features small groups whose members are led through discussion by one or more peer facilitators. Discussions are confidential. Remember, fight back against fraud and shred instead. Thank you for having AARP New York here today. And now I want to introduce the next speaker, Everett M. Lowe of the Regional Public Affairs Office in New York, Social Security Administration.
Thank you, Kat. Good morning, everyone. As Kat said, I'm Everett Lowe. I'm the Social Security Administration's Regional Communications Director in the New York region. Social Security touches the lives of 67 million people. We're an important part of everyone's life, and we wish to ensure that your information is safe and secure. If you are age 18 or older, have a Social Security number, U.S. mailing address, and an email address, sign up for your personal My Social Security account at ssa.gov, where you will be able to review your annual Social Security earnings statement. Your statement shows how much you've earned throughout your lifetime of work and how much you'll receive from Social Security when you retire or if you become disabled. You should review your statement when you access your account to make sure your earnings information is correct, and then check your statement once a year until you retire. If you notice anything unusual, like higher earnings or lower earnings, call Social Security at 1-800-772-1213 so we can figure out why there is a discrepancy and work with you to correct it. Again, that's 1-800-772-1213. If you don't think you'll ever use your online My Social Security account, call us and tell us you'd like to block it. And this way, no one will ever be able to set up an account until you remove that block. And again, you can block it by calling us at 800-772-1213. And when you're ready to retire, retire online using your My Social Security account. Scammers often exploit fears and threaten you with arrest or legal action. Some pose as Social Security or other government employees, claiming there's a problem with your Social Security number or benefits. They may even claim your Social Security number is linked to a crime. If you think a caller is a potential scammer, hang up right away and ignore the message. Never give your personal information or send money. Go to oig.ssa.gov and click on Scam Awareness to report it to the Office of Inspector General. Again, that's oig.ssa.gov. If you owe money to Social Security, we will mail you a letter with payment options and appeals rights. We only accept payments electronically through pay.gov, online bill pay, or you may pay by check or money order through your local Social Security office. Social Security will not threaten you with arrest or legal action because you don't agree to pay us money immediately. We will not promise a benefit increase in exchange for money. Social Security will not ask you to mail gift cards, prepaid debit cards, wire transfers, internet currency, cryptocurrency, or cash. Stay vigilant and visit ssa.gov/scam to learn more. Again, that's ssa.gov/scam. Remember, manage your Social Security benefits at ssa.gov/my account. If you're never going to use your My Social Security account, call us at 1-800-772-1213 to block it. And remember, Social Security will not threaten you, and we will not ask you to mail gift cards or cash. If you are the victim of a Social Security scam, remember, do not share your personal information, hang up if someone's calling you, and report it to oig.ssa.gov. Again, oig.ssa.gov. Together, we can slam the scam. So thank you to the BBB for having me today. And it's my great pleasure to introduce my colleague, Judith Weinstock, the Assistant Regional Director for the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission. Judy?
Thank you, Everett, for that lovely introduction. I'm glad to be part of today's important National Consumer Protection Week event. Before I begin, I need to give my standard disclaimer, which is these remarks are provided in my official capacity as an Assistant Regional Director in the New York Regional Office of the SEC, but they do not necessarily reflect the views of the Commission, the Commissioners, or other members of the staff. National Consumer Protection Week is a good time to remind consumers what the SEC calls retail investors to exhibit healthy skepticism when considering where to invest their hard-earned money. A core part of the SEC's mission is protecting retail investors. Unfortunately, fraudsters often use social media scams to scam investors. Investors increasingly rely on social media for information about investing. While social media can provide many benefits to investors, it also creates opportunities for fraudsters. Social media allows fraudsters to contact many people quickly, cheaply, and without much effort, and it is easy for fraudsters to post information on social media that looks real and credible. Social media may convey false impressions of consensus or legitimacy, making it look like large numbers of people are buying an investment when this is not the case. Fraudsters may use social media to lure investors into a variety of schemes, including crypto investment scams. It's also important to not be swayed by testimonials or celebrity endorsements when making an investment decision. Fraudsters sometimes pay people, for example, actors posting as ordinary people turn millionaires, social media influencers, and celebrities to tout an investment on social media. Last month, the SEC announced charges against NBA Hall of Famer Paul Pierce for touting EMAX tokens, crypto asset securities offered and sold by Ethereum Max, on social media without disclosing the payment he received for the promotion, and for making false and misleading promotional statements about the same crypto asset. The SEC's order finds that Pierce failed to disclose that he was paid more than $244,000 worth of EMAX tokens to promote the tokens on Twitter. The SEC's order also finds that Pierce tweeted misleading statements related to EMAX, including tweeting a screenshot of an account showing large holdings and profits without disclosing that his own personal holdings were in fact much lower than those in the screenshot. The SEC's Office of Investor Education and Advocacy recently issued an investor alert to warn investors about social media scams. Fraudsters may exploit investors' fear of missing out, or FOMO, to lure investors on social media into crypto investment scams. Crypto assets are marketed using a variety of terms, including digital assets, cryptocurrencies, coins, and tokens. As with any other type of investment product, if a crypto investment opportunity sounds too good to be true, it probably is. Promises of high investment returns with little or no risk are classic warning signs of fraud. Fraudsters may post fabricated historical returns on their websites showing high investment returns. Depictions of investment accounts rapidly increasing in value and providing large returns are often fake. Important things to remember in order to protect yourself. Don't be pressured to act quickly. Take your time to research an investment thoroughly before handing over your money. Check the background of anyone selling or offering you an investment and confirm that the person is currently registered or licensed. It only takes a few minutes using the free and simple search tool on investor.gov. Remember, never feel pressured to buy an investment right away. It can be tempting to jump on the bandwagon and follow whatever the crowd seems to be doing on social media. Sometimes, however, following the crowd may lead you to fall victim to an investment scam. Thank you very much for your time. I now introduce Ezra Cooper-Smith, Manager of Marketing and Communications, BBB, serving Metro New York, who will be moderating the Q&A.
Thank you so much, Judy. Hi, everyone. Again, thank you for joining us. We're so thrilled with this turnout. And it's been fantastic seeing how many participants wanted to be a part of this event. So we have time for a few questions. Keep in mind, anything that we don't get to, you can just forward to me through our event page, and I will make sure that your question finds the correct recipient. But the first question that we received had to do with young people and scams, and it was actually for our BBB's CEO, Claire. Claire, you had a question about that statistic that you mentioned about people in that 18 to 24-year-old demographic.
Thank you, Ezra. And again, thanks everyone. Yes, in my opening speech, I said that in the risk report put out by the BBB Institute for Marketplace Trust, what I said was the group 18 to 24, I might have said 25 actually, it's actually 18 to 24, reported the highest median dollar loss. That's $220 of all age groups, up 29.4% from $170 in 2021. And actually, you can find that on page 16 of the Institute's report, which again, we're going to drop that URL into the chat, and it will be on our event page. But again, that's ages 18 to 24. First time since we started doing this report that this particular age group had the highest dollar loss, median loss. Thanks, Ezra.
Thank you, Claire. And then second, I wanted to put the question to our participants. I know for one, it can sometimes be tough finding ways to get these messages that we're all sharing out through stories that really resonate with people who are consuming media. So I wanted to put it to the participants to share with members of the media in attendance, what are some of the ways that you would suggest talking about scams and fraud in ways that consumers will be interested in watching or reading or really engaging with?
I'll start if nobody minds. So the FTC has some great resources on consumer.gov. And if you go there, you can see our Pass It On campaign is what it's called. This is a lot of material that's very easily accessible, and we encourage everybody to learn about scams that impact their communities. And the reason I mention this is because I think that the best way to get information to people is to use the media to spark an interest in this particular topic, and then ask people to do a little bit of their own research and use word of mouth to warn people about similar scams.
Thanks so much, Karen. Any of our other participants, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think, that throughout the presentations, there were quite a few tips that were shared. And again, I just want to thank all of our speakers and our organizations for participating today. Were there any other questions, Ezra, from media?
Nope, so far we've gotten
Okay.
everything. So
All right, then for those of you in our media community, thank you very, very much for joining us today. The information that we've all talked about is going to be on the page that Ezra, I believe you dropped into the chat. I'm seeing it there. So you can go there. All of the resources that were mentioned today will be there. So once again, I want to thank everybody. And if anyone wants to do an interview with any of our speakers, please just contact Ezra and he will try to coordinate with our other organizations and speakers. So with that, I want to say thank you again. We're just coming close to the hour, but we want to thank all of you for participating today in our very first virtual media event, celebrating and marking the FTC's National Consumer Protection Week. And with that, I believe this event is concluded. Thank you very much.